one of my more favorite tools, the bolt buster. By the way, this harmonic balancer, after you take off the big bolt, it just slides off, thank God. Right, this is ice cold, and I started right away. Ain't that crazy how well this thing works? It's literally glowing red. Let's see if that's enough to get it out. Oops, sorry, I had to use two hands. But I think that's turning. It did actually turn a little bit. I'm gonna heat it up more though because there's junk on the threads. They put shit on the threads to kind of glue it in. You can kind of see it, I think, because you see all that there's gook there. You know, that's what I should do. I should heat it so you can see it glowing red on the other side. It's a little hard to do on camera and probably not so safe. So I'm gonna defer and just showing you guys. It's probably won't be an issue coming out. Alright, that bitch gotta be red. It's not coming out red on this side. See, the tip pretty much got red. It's still not easy to do it from this point of view, but I'm just gonna. This is too much. I gotta do it with two hands. Heated it again. I held it for a good minute, and it's just coming out like it should. Like I said, I think because of the vibration of a diesel, I think they put stuff on the threads, which obviously complicated this whole process because these bolts should have came right out. Never had bolts snap off in any Oldsmobile, harmonic balancer. So hopefully the other one should come out just the same, pretty much. Okay, I got the timing cover off. It doesn't move. This really doesn't move much when you go try to figure out the play when you just move the harmonic balancer, but it definitely, would benefit from changing. It's a roller chain, so technically you only need to change the chain, but I got the whole timing set from a guy I know that has parts for these things. So I'm going to get to going on this. This is the oil slinger, and hopefully I don't have to exert much force to get these out, and we'll take it from there. I'm probably going to, before I try a puller, I'll just see if it comes off with a pry bar. The top should come right off, but the bottom, in fact, the chain is so loose I might be able to actually, not with my fingers, I can tell you that much. Let's see. I just take a regular screwdriver. Yeah, I might have to use a puller. Of course, having a bigger pry bar would be, a lot more leverage. And also having two pry bars, for that matter. Can't tell if I'm actually moving it or not. Oh yeah, look at that, it just moved. Alright. Woohoo! This should be a lot easier. But again, I zoomed it in. That's enough to not worry about. These chains are never going to break. But, it helps if you want to get, ultimate mileage out of your car and stuff like that. After a certain point, it's got to be done. There's only so much mechanical timing on the pump when you turn it is going to do for you. You're going to lose something, and usually it's mileage. And if whether you gain power or not, or lose power, stupid phone. Anyway, whether you gain power or lose power, you usually suffer with mileage or something along those lines. You lose something, so you do it the way it's intended, and it's as optimal as it's going to be. Wire wheeled the hell out of this thing. Touched the rubber a couple of times, as you can see. Oopsie. Hopefully it doesn't hurt it. But it's much cleaner, and I soaked it in paint. So hopefully this will dry. It's a flat paint. That's all I have. So it goes on, flat paint goes on dry, and goes on dry, goes on glossy and dries flat. And usually glossy paint will go on kind of flat and dry glossy, if you paint it right. It's a little cold. It's not freezing today, but it's getting chillier as the night is approaching. Had to go to the store to get all this brake cleaner and other shit, but actually it's not brake cleaner I got some other stuff. They're actually running out of solutions like that at AutoZone, unless I start looking around, but I bought some other stuff. Cleaned up pretty well. So timing chain is in. You can see the marks are lined up. This is what I would say normal, but it won't go back and forth. It didn't have much play as far as moving the harmonic balancer back and forth, but I'm just one of those guys. If I do something, I just want to get in there and do it. I would hate myself if I didn't do it and there was a problem. But like I said, you benefit pretty good from this. I don't know if you can see the marks, but this mark is on this part of the pulley. I can see it from there. I think the glare it's still on it no matter what. It's crazy. It's literally right on. Let's see, turn it off. I don't see shit. Let's see. Torch on. That's hilarious. Whatever glare is coming right on. Anyway, so right where that glare mark is, that is where the mark is. And it is right on the money. Right there. It's so funny. I go like this, it doesn't look like it's lined up, and then I come over. You can tell that's where the mark is, but basically I got it straight first, and then I got it manipulated in the right spot. Gotta clean up this surface and put the slinger back on. Put the seal in the timing cover, and then I scratched it up, and then I had to paint it again. That's still drying, but it's getting duller. I'll show you that it's dry. There will be scratches, undoubtedly. It's not one of those cars. It's never big on painting anything either. But so far so good. All right. So basically my trick for Oldsmobile, what I used to do, I haven't done a timing chain in a long time because I'm one of those guys that would like to do everything, so I'd be dropping the oil pan usually. But I don't have this. If I had the subframe out and I was committed to this, because I wasn't at first, then I would have done it. I'm sure I can get an oil pan gasket because I had gotten one for that one when I needed to drop the pan, because the oil dipstick had broken off in the block. Oops. And so what I do is I clip like an inch to three-quarters of an inch to an inch off the ends here, and I stuff it with Right Stuff, and that way it slips right in because this isn't in the way, and the Right Stuff seals everything. So that's my trick to get it in without too much effort, because it can be a pain in the neck. Should I loosen the first two bolts? Yeah, maybe, but I'm going to try without it first and see what happens. I try to stick the gasket on the block so I'm not, sticking it on and off and stuff like that, or keep moving it, kind of thing. So, but I put gasket goop on both sides, basically the Right Stuff. Not a lot, just a thin layer, because it doesn't need that much, and if it ends up shrinking, it ends up giving it a room to leak. So I don't go crazy. Really, just the gasket itself is all you need. The gasket stuff is just to kind of hold it on. Not sure after cleaning all this off if that's a broken piece or what from the intake, but it is what it is. It can keep continuing to leak until I do the intake. Then I'll do everything then. So, but I cleaned the front of the block off, you know, pretty satisfactory for the most part, and just so you can see the work and you can see if there's any leaks afterwards. Probably spray it down some more and get this thing together. So this is real interesting, okay? Let me show you something. This is the Felpro gasket. This is for a regular 350, this kit. That's why it doesn't have the water pump gasket, but it is a flimsy piece of nothing. I took a gamble and I got the correct part number for this diesel. And somebody had an old one laying around on eBay, and it is really thick, and it actually has like this stickiness to it, or it's just thick. And I'm not going to put any gasket goop on this, I think. You know, maybe on this side, but this looks like it's going to not only stick, but it's more heavy duty, you know. I just might need two hands to actually get it on the dowel pins. Yeah, this ain't happening with me holding the camera. Well, like I said, I think I got this for $5 delivered. I guess the guy didn't know what to do with it, you know, but it's very heavy duty, and I like this ribbing stuff. It looks like it will make a positive seal once everything dries, so I like that. It's not really wet, you know, it has a little stickiness to it, you know, so I think it's pretty cool. Sometimes the guy who designed it knows more about cars than me or you, so you take his idea and you fuck with it, and you put this cheap gasket and you'll get, you know, it'll roll up on you and stuff like that. I mean, this is like really flimsy, and this thing here, it's like very rigid, but it's not bad. You know, it's not old rigid. This is just heavy duty. It's much thicker in gasket terms. All right, wish me luck. So this is what I mean about putting right stuff. Oopsie. This is what happens when you're a slob. Anyway, basically I fill the void. I cut it off. I fill the void. It's cut all the way down here. So I fill it there, but I also stuff it in each corner over here. Okay. I'm not a fan of putting it on the lip here, but the good news about right stuff, you can always put it on afterwards. It looks like somebody else had it on afterwards as well. Like this was actually slobbered on all over on the bottom, and it was on this front lip here. I'm going to try to avoid that, but I'm going to see how this works out, and hopefully if my memory is correct. And the gasket, it's just stuck right on. It's in a perfect place. So far so good. Hopefully this doesn't have me cursing. You'll find out in the next video. So another thing I want to add, when you have the seal, you see that that's like a spring, and it actually, you know, keeps the seal always circular around its object. Now, if you put the thing in dry, which is obviously not a good idea, it can invert this, okay? But sometimes that happens. It's so hard to sometimes do without kind of getting rough with the seal. So not only do you grease it, I put grease on the inside here. And what it does is it holds the spring from falling out. And this will all melt into the motor oil, you know, for the most part. You could use Vaseline, which might actually be better. But this will work. This will be fine. And you lube up the surface. I don't know if you saw any of that, but I'm lubing up inside. But see what I'm doing? I'm filling this cavity up pretty much with oil, with grease, so it ends up holding that thing on. Because even if it comes out of whack a little bit, it will go back into place, because it really doesn't have anywhere to go. The grease will keep it where it really needs to go. So that is my trick when it comes to seals. I'm always kind of like that, because I've messed up seals just based on that. Because I pull it out and then I see the little spring hanging down, you know, and I'm like, oh no, I just bolted all that shit in, you know. This one, the seal comes out from either side, but you're not so lucky in other you know, projects. So it's just something I want to tell you all about, and hopefully that helps somebody. But I think that's a surefire way to not lose your little spring there when you're banging or pushing or whatever, or just your mind wanders and you're not paying attention, you know, that kind of thing, because it happens. So hopefully this video was worth it. All right, now to put it on. Okay, so a little hard to get my hand. All right, that may not be so bad. Both sides are the same. All 4 bolts are loose, but you see what I'm doing? You see how I just barely pushed it. It went right in, but you see how the right stuff is bulging out, and it's not even tightened yet. So 4 bolts are in. No effort to put it in. And you can see right here. In fact, let me go from here. Okay. See what I mean about saying that I bunched up the right stuff, so that when you tighten the bolts, so just for shits and giggles, you see it. I was bulging out. There's no way that's not going to seal, you know. I didn't quite get the other side all the way on, but it's probably about the same. See that? And what's good about this is that, you know, because I used to do Oldsmobiles a lot. They called me the 260 kid because I had a 78 Delta 88. Every week I would go in the auto parts store and I had to buy parts, you know, and I've done a timing chain gasket on it like 3 or 4 times because it kept rolling over that thing. I just didn't have a knack, and I didn't think about lowering the oil pan. It was a pain in the neck to me. I didn't have really that many good tools, but I'm always looking for, you know, once I did that, you know, I was looking for an easier way to do things. Now, if you do the oil, because really putting that seal in properly is doing it from the bottom when you have the whole pan off. You know, because I've seen guys with Chevys having the same problem, and they, you know, end up, you know, taking the first couple of bolts out of the pan or loosening them, and then they sit there with a screwdriver and they're bending down on the pan, and then it leaks anyway. So this doesn't really interfere with the oil pan gasket, and all that could be taken off if you have the oil pan actually off. You know what I mean? And right now, I can put, just like they did here, I can put a bead along the edge here, you know? And the other thing is you want to make sure, because after this gasket, it may not even be in all the way, technically. It may help to tap it with a rubber mallet, you know? But I don't have it in all the way, technically, you know, with the bolts. So I gotta have 2 hands on it. So that was just showing you what I'm doing. You gotta make sure, you know, no matter what, you always have to, you know, don't take my word for it. You gotta do how you know what a finished product looks like, you know. So right now, I would say it's not quite in, but if I tighten those bolts, it's very rigid, this timing cover, so it'll probably go right into place. This is where a little silicone might have actually been a good thing, because it'll help it, you know, kind of go in. But I give it a little tap, even now, with the bolts the way they are, so there's no pressure on anything. But it would have been smarter if I actually siliconed it now that I think about it. I just don't remember. It's been a long time since I did a timing chain on an Oldsmobile in the car, because I generally don't bother unless I can drop the pan and do the rim and seal at the same time, that kind of thing, you know. So I'll convert it to a neoprene seal usually, but this oil pan is a pain in the neck. Pretty much got to drop the subframe, maybe not, but you got this whole, you know, U-bracket here for the motor mount. It's much harder on this car than it is on the 85 98. So let me get back to work and get it before the silicone dries. All right, thanks. Okay, I just had an unholy flashback. There was definitely some resistance because the seal was not in. You really have to pitch it in first, and then you'll catch one side. The dowel pin will go right through, but the other side, the dowel pin does not go through. So put a screwdriver here, and this is why I remember messing up this hole because I forced it the fuck in, but it worked. But I was like, I don't want to do that again. That's why I said I don't really do this. I'll do the whole, you know, a whole series of stuff. I'd really love to record this show you, it's probably not as bad as it seems. And I'm putting a screwdriver, so basically this thing is going to go down now because I'm still fighting that you know, alignment. Okay, I got the bolt in. I hope you're seeing this. But basically I use this bolt to get that one in. Now, not 100% sure, actually I'm not. I'm pretty sure that it's not, you know, it's gonna fight me. Okay, this is not as strong. I was looking for something better than it's hurting my screwdriver. But if I just push down a little bit, boom, see that? Got the pin through. Hope you see that. See, just by hammering it, that pin got started now. Right here. Oh, Jesus, the light is terrible. Whoops. So basically, I pried down. I fought the thing, but now the lip is under, and I'll probably shoot the video underneath it. But in the meantime, let me get the other bolts in. This should line up. And hopefully it's still squeezing out, you know. It should be okay. And you can always, like I said, inject some more in. In fact, let me take a quick look on these because I can just put it in right now. Okay, you see how it came out, but that side is still out. Gee. I really hope it didn't. You might have to play with it to see what happens, and then I get that up like that. Hopefully, if I catch the bottom bolts, it actually goes under. Like I said, I probably should have made that one tighter to start with, so it keeps following the lead. I think it actually went in. Yeah. The silicone has messing me up a little bit, probably. You know, the old silicone. It seems like it's pretty close, but I somehow remember it being, you know, more. Obviously, you don't want to fucking dent this. I bet you part of this problem is I didn't a little bit. I probably should have siliconed it. Ho hum. Not 100% convinced this is correct. Oh well. I'm going to play with this more because I'm not 100% satisfied here, and I feel like I'm fighting the pan now. It doesn't want to go. Like, you have to get it started earlier. So it's a matter of playing with these bolts. But I'm telling you, once you get the knack of it, it's actually pretty easy. So we'll see what happens. Okay, take two. So I decided to bolt on that side. I fixed the silicone. So that guy is in most of the way, and now it's past the, you know, it's right up against the oil pan. And I kind of have it wedged in here, I think. Let's see what happens if I just tighten this a little bit. If the I think I got it. Now you can really see it pull in. See, that was the ticket. You had to get one side really in and flush, so it continues it. If you just leave it loose, it teeters the edge of the pan out, and now you can see it's literally up against it. That's how it's supposed to look. And it's still, I got my silicone bunched up here, and that's wonderful. It actually didn't go all the way in here on this side. I really should have lubed it. I wonder if that. Oh well. Let's see how many takes this takes. Boy, oh boy. So much for experience. Gotta practice it once in a while. Alright, let me try again. So ultimately, this was a pain in the ass. I loosened the bolts for the oil pan. I don't think it really did anything, but a piece of the rubber was breaking, just shearing off like a little line, and I think I should have cut it a little bit more. I know it sounds like crazy, like, there's gonna be no fucking rubber left, but you know, I think it's right now. See, unfortunately, I was also thrown off. I should have removed all the old silicone. That would have been smarter, because I kept getting it wrong from a reference and accidentally hit the power button. Of course, now my phone is freezing. See, you can see the can't even get this screwdriver in on an angle. But right there, that's the space. It's like right up against it. You know? The pan is like right up against the base of the oil pan. Having massive phone problems. Alright. I had to actually wedge a screwdriver in here to drive the rubber in. I believe I got it all, you know. It's like a different look on this side. I mean, if it's out, it ain't out a lot. I tapped it. I tapped it more than I liked it. You see all the fucking hammer marks, but the shadow is making it look more than what it actually is. That was my problem. It kept looking like it was sticking out, but I can actually see the rubber. I can barely see the rubber, which is, you know, what you basically want. Yeah, but I'm gonna end up hitting this with the right stuff all along the rim at this point. Obviously, it's not really what I wanted to do. Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, it's even all the way around. I mean, it looks more on camera than it actually is. And like I said, if you pause it, you probably see where the actual pan ends and where the timing cover begins. But it's as good as it's going to get. And unfortunately, that was a pain in the ass. But I would have cut off more. I know it sounds like a lot, but that right stuff really seals well. And as long as you get the little nipple through the hole here on the bottom, it's right here. You know? And you get it in pretty good, it should be fine. But I ended up spreading right stuff pretty much everywhere. Oh no, the nipple, what am I talking about? The nipple goes on the inside of the thing here. This is just a piece of silicone. But yeah, it's even. Yeah, that is the right way it's supposed to be in. Obviously, I didn't do what I wanted to do, you know, easily. And this took a long time. But I really didn't want to unbolt the pan. I gave in and I unbolted the first two bolts, and I got one on each side, which really didn't do shit. So ultimately, my plan worked. I should have cut off a little bit more because it started shearing off on one side. I also put silicone on the lip of the pan, so that's when it started to actually go in. Everything when it was new in the beginning, that's really what I should have done, and it's probably one of the things I went through back then. 30 years ago. I was 15 when I had my first Oldsmobile, but this is basically the same thing. So, I'm going to put this back together. I don't think you need a video to put the rest of these bolts in and put the water pump on, so I'm going to end it right here. Okay, so the water pump I took off right here. You see this thread there, I took off that bolt. It's a bolt-on pulley, but you need a puller to get it off. I have the puller. And you see this, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with this water pump, but you can't buy the gasket, so you gotta buy a new water pump to get the gasket. But I wanted to change it anyway because I'm here, and I bought a water pump. Anyway, you can see it's pitting anyway, but you see how that's one piece? It's all part of the casting, right? This is the same water pump I put on that car, right there. Now, what's crazy is that there's only 6 bolts holding this. So it comes with new bolts, this particular one, and it's really just the stud over here and the stud over there, cross stud. Put a regular bolt there, stud there. Don't know if it's going to be used. It's not used in that car, so I doubt this one, because there's a little minor differences actually with the bracket setup, very little. But I liked it because it was new. Because the other one, you can see the pulley is pitted pretty bad. You know, that wears into your belt and whatnot. But this guy, I had to use a little ratcheting box end wrench to do the 10 millimeter, which is a nut. They give you this regular nut. And in hindsight, I might have welded that nut. It was like a stud that came on the back of the timing cover. And this car boasted, you know, they used to say they boasted every single bolt is metric, and the head is metric, but the bolt is standard because it's the timing cover. It's not the exact. It's the same gasket, but it's not the same timing cover, I believe, because there were more bolts holding the water pump for sure. But it's funny how they put a 10 millimeter, because I guess the tooling, you know. But the bottom one, they have a metric stud coming in on the other side. I might have tack welded it, but it really didn't go anywhere, and I got it tight. But it was hard. They gave you a little tiny washer and a nut, and I'm like, the likeness of fitting this new nut on an old stud like that was probably more slim. I'd gotten another nut, and then I found the original nut, so I put the original nut on. I actually got it started. It's very hard, you know. I mean, it's almost like you're better off having the crank pulley off. But anyway, so this thing here, this new water pump, because I guess the other ones are rebuilt. Look at that. It's actually, they add this to it and put the angle on and put epoxy to hold it. It's pretty funny. So I guess that's why some people don't like this one. You see it's the press-on one. The main thing is hard to get that bottom bolt. But I got the other one off. I wasn't going to pull it off. You can really, it's very hard to pull it off on the car. I know it's a small puller. It's not like there's a ton of room. So that's on. This thing here, it was a bolt going through. I don't know if you can see it. The bracket down here, you know, this bracket, there's a third bolt on this side. And before it was the bolt coming through the top. And that's why I had a hard time getting it off, because you have 3 studs. It's fighting trying to get that off. So I held a nut with the wrench on this side, you know, and it was a pain in the ass to start and everything. It really was pretty stupid. They should have welded a nut on the bracket, you know, but that's the motor mount bracket. You know, worst case scenario, you can drill it out from the bottom and put a nut and bolt anyway, you know, if something happened to it. I don't know what the hell they're worried about. But that's it. This is in. It's a matter of time I get this other stuff, and then I can line up the AC compressor. I got to get I have a new vacuum pump for it. And once I get the new alternator and the new AC compressor on, I can start lining up the AC tubes that I got. But I gotta get some rust treatment and get it, because it's kind of like messed up down there. It's not terrible. It looks worse than it is, but I definitely gotta put some kind of chemical, clean it, and then paint it. I meant to get the chemical today and I forgot. But oh well. More work to do still, no matter what. But this car will have a new alternator, a new power steering pump, new water pump, new seals up front, new vacuum pump, new AC pump. The only thing you can't buy is this, but I'm putting a new pulley on it, so at least the pulley's new. So that'll be pretty good. And this guy here. Oh, that's nice. How come I was able to get it off? Maybe I tightened the bolt to get it out of the way. That's interesting. Nope. I must have loosened that bolt. And those bolts I had to change as they were rotted, so when you get the new ones, I had them, so I didn't go to the store to buy them. If I bought them at the store, it would have been probably 13 millimeter heads like GM normally has. That's a 12 millimeter head. That's happened to me all day long. Gee, that's funny. That's gonna piss me off. So I'm gonna do that, and then that's about it. I'm just gonna get it over on the top. What number is this? 12. Okay, maybe. Probably not though. I have to go through the pulley. I gotta get an open end on it. All right, I've had enough. It's getting close to 8 o'clock. All right, thanks for watching.